bells of Meridian sounded different before the flip. Their copper throats hummed beneath the rotating promenades, braiding chime with turbine thrum and the creak of steel joints. Residents said the music helped them forget the knife edge of time, that delicate 12-hour span between sunrise and whatever passed for noon, in a world where gravity could betray you at any heartbeat. Today, the bells seemed anxious, as if they anticipated the sky's next mood swing, long before the mathematicians' clocks could. Naravind, apprentice architect of the fifth bracket, pressed a gloved hand against the balustrade and studied the clouds above and below. Meridian was a ring city, a colossal hoop 20 kilometers in diameter that rotated perpetually around its own circumference. Counterspin gyros kept the inner streets level, no matter which way the world pulled. When down pointed toward the ground, citizens walked along the outer rim, gazing across the central void at gardens and markets that clung to the opposite side. When the flip hurled everything skyward, the city's rotation and ballast shifted, and those same citizens simply slid to the new floor. Furniture pivoted on gimbals, doors swung open both directions, and meals were served with lids even when soup was cold. The only rule anyone trusted was the architect's first axiom. The building must not care where down is. A distant silhouette arced through the amber morning haze. A sky clipper, hull stitched from living bamboo and silkskin air sacs. Its keel glowed with magnetofoils that hummed against stray geomagnetic bursts. Nara recognized the vessel by the ragged swallowtail pennant snapping at its stern, the larkspur, which meant Jolt Way was back from the upper harvest. She leaned over the railing and waved. A moment later, a voice crackled in her ear cone. "Architect Thimble, requesting dock, if Meridian's famous trainee will allow." Jolt always called her Thimble, a teasing reference to her first job, reinforcing the city's seam joints. Small work for big stakes. "Permission granted," Nara answered. "Mind the wind shear near Sector 9. The auxiliary fins are still in calibration." "Understood." Bringing her in with feathers spread. The clipper descended, belly gondolas dangling netted cargo that glittered even in Meridian's shadow. Shards of glass, bent steel beams, a piano lid, broken solar shafts. The day's catch of debris flung upward during the last flip and harvested before it could fall back and devastate something unlucky below. Sky sailors like Jolt made fortunes crawling the narrow altitude between terror and fortune, catching the artifacts of ruined static cities that had never adapted. Docking clamps seized the clipper's spars with a satisfying clang. Jolt hopped onto the quay, goggles askew, braids whipping like loose rigging. In the intimate chaos of the dock, gravity felt stable for the moment. But behind each exchange of greetings lurked the same question. How long until stability lied again? "How's the ring holding?" Jolt asked, shrugging off a harness crusted with frost from high-air rivers. "Better than the mathematicians." Nara offered a crooked grin. "They're still arguing whether today's flip window begins at midday or 3 breaths before." Typical. Jolt produced a compass watch, whose hands circled like drunken insects. "My onboard timer thinks we have 4 hours, but last cycle it missed by 2, so we have to treat every second as borrowed." Nara nodded toward the clipper's nets. "A good haul?" "Better than good. My crew snagged something special." Jolt's voice lowered. "A fragment of the old Zenith library. Carved basalt, embedded glyph circuits. Could be data from before the first tilt." Nara's heart skipped. The Zenith Library, mythical repository of knowledge, lost during the inaugural calamity that unhinged the planet's axial field and cursed it with flipping gravity. If architects could read even one blueprint from those archives, maybe they'd discover how to tame the field rather than accommodate it. "Show me," she whispered. Jolt led her along the quay to a canvas-swaddled crate. With a flourish, she pulled aside the cloth. Inside lay an octagonal slab, black as midnight oil, edges sharp enough to slice sunlight. Runes crawled across its surface, subtle and iridescent like beetle shells. "It sings," Jolt said. "We heard it humming at altitude." Nara leaned in. The stone indeed emitted something. Not sound exactly, but a resonance felt along the teeth and sternum, as though one's bones briefly became tuning forks. "How did you keep it from drifting out of the net during turbulence?" "Couldn't tell you. Seemed like it wanted to stay." Jolt rubbed a gloved thumb across a rune. "Think your mentor would know what to do with it?" Architect Master Alice I. Rowan had studied pre-tilt engineering for decades. She'd know, or she'd find someone who pretended. Either way, the library stone must reach the think house before the next flip. Meridian's rotating stabilizers were reliable, but the think house lab sat in Sector 13, a quadrant scheduled for due-line repairs. If the flip arrived mid-repair, the entire quadrant might misalign, fracturing the city's momentum and pinwheeling the ring apart. "Help me haul it," Nara said. "We'll take the ridge tram. Avoid construction corridors." Jolt's crew unloaded the slab onto a hover sled. The tram rails wound along Meridian's outer circumference like polished ribs. As they glided, street vendors hawked turn-resilient trinkets, double adhesive murals, inverted hourglasses, ankle-mag boots. Children chased a floating kite designed to flip colors when down reversed. Between towers, hanging orchards drooped with blood peaches that would briefly grow upward after noon, forcing gardeners to tie trunks to swiveling yokes. Nara clung to the sled's rail, half listening to Jolt recount a near collision with a falling cathedral spire. "The spire missed us by 20 meters, Jolt said, voice thin in the wind. "The void ate it, just vanished above the clouds. Gives a sailor humility." Nara tried to imagine the world outside Meridian. Static, earthbound cities, once marvels, now shattered into strata of rubble and regret after successive flips flung their stones skyward and then rained them elsewhere. Only rotating metropolises survived. Meridian, Arcos, the twin discs of Peligo, each gliding around itself like a gymnast on a bar, refusing to choose an up or down more permanent than the sky's mood. The tram hissed to a stop by the think house, a gyroscopic dome nested in 3 steel rings that rolled counter to the city's rotation. Inside, scholars treated gravity's rebellion not as catastrophe, but conversation. When Nara and Jolt wheeled the slab through the iris doors, Master Rowan was calibrating a chamber full of anti-torsion pendulums. Rowan looked up, silver hair adrift around her head like halo wires. "You're early or late, depending on whose clock defeats mine." "Probably both," Nara said. "We found a piece of zenith." The Master's eyebrows lifted. She beckoned them to a workbench layered with filaments of copper thread. Together they eased the slab down. Rowan brushed her palm above the runes, never touching, and read whatever invisible symphony stirred there. "It's responsive," she murmured, as if encoded with gravitons. Perhaps the ancients recorded data in quantum spins rather than etched grooves. Jolt cleared her throat. "Responsive is good, but I'm due to launch before the flip. My crew can't afford to be stuck upside." A klaxon shrieked, not the pleasant bells, but the saw-edge howl reserved for only one warning: mechanical sabotage. Crimson sigils flared across the dome's walls. Rowan's voice tightened. "Alert from Sector 13 gyro motors. Stabilizers decoupled." Nara's blood chilled. Those stabilizers kept Meridian's rotational balance. Without them, even a minor flip could set wobble rippling through the ring until centrifugal forces tore streets apart. "Who would decouple a gyro?" Jolt demanded. Rowan answered with grim calm. "Someone who wants this city to fall like the old ones." The think house shook, barely perceptible, but enough to cause beakers to clink. A small bronze pendulum pivoted off axis. "How long until the flip?" Rowan asked. "Best estimate, 3 hours, Nara said. "Worst, 3 minutes. She grabbed the wristcom at her belt. "Control, this is Architect Apprentice Vind. Confirm gyro vent integrity." Static. Then a fractured reply. "Downlink compromised. Autolocks offline." Jolt was already unfastening the hover sled's harness. "If stabilizers are down on 13, we need to realign manually. I can fly the Larkspur and anchor cables to the outer struts. You guide me from inside." Rowan touched the slab. "I stay. If this stone truly holds pre-tilt knowledge, it may contain instructions to re-engage the gyros faster than any manual fix." She met Nara's gaze. "You go with the sailor." Nara hesitated. Her oath as an architect prioritized human life above structure or artifact, but preserving Meridian required action, both theoretical and tactical. "We'll buy you time," she said. Outside, the city's colonnades moaned with torsional strain. Citizens paused mid-errand to glance at their feet, uncertain which direction tomorrow lay. Emergency crews in orange exosuits sprinted toward Sector 13. Nara and Jolt raced opposite, toward the docks. The Larkspur's crew, 6 wiry sailors, waited by the gangplank. When Jolt relayed the plan, no one balked. Every sailor understood the covenant. Harvest the sky, protect the city that gave them sky to harvest. Boards rattled as the clipper launched. Magnetofoils whined, feeding on the city's ambient field. Free of the dock, the vessel banked hard, skimming Meridian's exterior wall. From Nara's vantage at the prow, the ring's vast curvature resembled the rim of a wheel so large that each building was a spoke. Beyond, the world's horizon shimmered with inverted clouds. Down for now, up in waiting. Sector 13's gyro housings protruded like brass mushrooms from the ring's spine. As they neared, Nara saw scorch marks marring the access hatches. Sabotage, indeed, rather than mechanical fatigue. A single housing had been unlatched, its couplings dangling, cables severed. Jolt set the clipper in hover. "Cables ready." 2 sailors hurled grapnel lines that snapped onto anchor loops around the gyro. Winches tightened, drawing the clipper against the spinning rim. Suction boots engaged with magnetic plates, allowing Nara and a sailor named Kaidi to step onto the city's skin. If gravity flipped now, they would be yanked outward, into empty sky or, in some twisted mercy, slammed back against the ring when rotation reversed. No rope could guarantee survival, only postpone fatal physics. Nara crawled to the gyro hatch. The decoupler mechanism was a patchwork of levers and sapphire rods whose crystalline alignment translated rotational torque into stabilizing counterspin. One shard rod was missing, shattered or stolen. Kaidi scanned the scene. "I can forge a bypass with this anchor pin, but we need power realignment data." Nara toggled her wristcom. Again, static. Meridian's intranet might be jammed. "Manual calculation, then," she said. She tried to recall Rowan's lectures on torque harmonics. When a ring city lost one stabilizer, the opposite side's gyro had to be braked fractionally. Otherwise, imbalance would intensify. "Kaidi, measure current RPM." She handed him a microtalk integrated into her gloves. "We'll dial the bypass to reduce spin by 0.08%. Kaidi nodded and set to work. Meanwhile, Jolt maneuvered the larkspur so its belly turbines opposed the ring's spin, donating thrust like a nurse donating blood. The world lurched. Nara felt it before she saw it. A shifting weight in the stomach, a subtle, upward tug. Clouds along the planet's surface convulsed. Dust whirls spiraled off the land far below. Vocal alarms triggered across Meridian. The flip had begun. At least the pre-tremor. Jolt's voice boomed across the comm funnel. "Thimble! We're out of time." Kitey jammed the anchor pin into the crystalline lattice. Sparks flared violet. Metal groaned. The gyro housing shuddered, then whirred alive, redlining. Nara cranked a flux valve to bleed speed until harmonic numbers balanced her mental arithmetic. For a heartbeat, the noises smoothed. The tremor ceased. Gravity's flirtation retreated. "Stabilizer reading nominal," Kitey shouted. Relief broke across the crew. But before Nara could exhale, the hover sled hauling the Zenith stone burst onto the comm frequency. "Apprentice Vind?" Rowan's voice crackled. "We accessed partial data. The stone predicts a secondary reverse flip within minutes. An oscillation. Meridian's systems were not built for double rotation stress that fast." Nara's mind raced. A normal flip inverted gravity for hours before easing. But an oscillation, down, up, then down again in quick succession, could shear the ring's bearings despite the recent fix. They needed a dampener. Mass distributed along the rim to counteract momentum. She looked at the larkspur, at its cargo net stuffed with salvage. "Jolt, we can ballast Meridian with your haul." Jolt blinked. "Dump the cargo?" "Not dump. Strap it across the exterior. Increase rotational inertia. We might mitigate the whiplash." The decision would cost Jolt a fortune. Yet she nodded without pause. "Crew, net every crate along the rim. Double lash. Move." Sailors vaulted across rigging, securing debris to any bolt hole. Nara transmitted instructions to emergency crews. Add mass to outer walkways, water barrels, engine cores, anything heavy. Sky sailors inbound to distribute load. Citizens responded. Shopkeepers dragged safes. Engineers shoved battery stacks. Children rolled barrels of orchard soil to the parapets. Meridian became a necklace of improvised ballast. In the stratosphere, the oscillation gathered. Winds reversed, died, then reversed again. Lightning arced sideways. "Brace!" Jolt cried. The flip struck. Down vanished like a rug. Bodies lifted centimeters, then meters. Ropes snapped taut. In the same breath, down returned, but angled. An oblique diagonal that threw everyone sideways rather than toward the ground or sky. The ring screamed, his bearings ground. Meridian held. Nara dangled from her mag boots, heart sprinting. Cargo nets billowed but remained fast. Luggage, safes, piano lid. Mass turned guardian. The oscillation ended as abruptly as it began. Air calmed. Weight settled normal. Down once more pointed toward the planet. On the comm, cheers and sobs intertwined. Somewhere the bells of Meridian resumed, shaken, but still singing. Later, back in the think house, Nara, Jolt, and Rowan gathered before the library slab. Its runes glowed brighter, as if pleased. "We found the sabotage code imprinted in the stone's first layer," Rowan said. "Someone leveraged ancient knowledge to cripple our gyro. Likely a nihilist faction that believes humanity should abandon rotating illusions and accept extinction." "They almost succeeded," Jolt muttered, nursing a bruised shoulder. Rowan traced a rune, shaped like intertwining infinities. Yet the slab also contained the oscillation forecast, and a cure. "What cure?" Nara asked. "An algorithm for a self-adjusting rotation architecture. Not just reactive like Meridian's gyros, but anticipatory. A city that spins in harmony with gravitational turbulence, absorbing it like a dancer rather than resisting like a fortress. Jolt whistled low. You mean a city that doesn't care where up is because it flows with up? Exactly. Rowan smiled. I will need both of you. An architect who thinks in moving pieces, and a sailor who commands the air. Nara felt fatigue melt, replaced by purpose. Where do we build? Where the next flip lands debris easiest, Jolt offered. Above the ruins of Zenith Library, maybe. The sky owes us at least one favor. Rowan laid a hand over theirs upon the rune-lit stone. The resonance thrummed, sinking pulses. Beyond the think-house walls, citizens righted market stalls, reoriented wind turbines, laughed in dizzy relief. Children splashed in puddles that earlier had hung trembling aloft. They lived knowingly between yanks of the cosmos, yet each time down returned, they built again. That night, gravity stayed faithful. Lamps glowed, suspended gardens rested. In the quay, the larkspur reloaded with empty nets and fresh ambition. Nara stared across the central void at the mirrored streets inverted above. Architects had long accepted that a city could be both ceiling and floor, that a person's entire home could swivel around them twice a day without unrooting identity. Now she dared imagine something grander, a city that pirouetted through uncertainty as gracefully as birds through thermals, its rhythm aligned with the universe's unruly heartbeat. A place where the bell's music would not merely soothe dread, but celebrate communion with the very forces once feared. The next flip would come, and after that, another and another. But Meridian had survived sabotage and oscillation. That resilience, coupled with wisdom from the past, and courage of sky sailors who relinquished treasure for communal survival, proved a theorem beyond steel and calculus. Humanity could adapt faster than calamity could invent surprise. At dawn, the bells gifted a hopeful cadence, not anxious, but anticipatory. Nara listened from a balcony turned rosy by sunrise, up still correctly upward, for now. She sensed, in the hush between chimes, the turning gears of a future rotating city, neither fully floor nor fully sky, but the perfect dance where gravity itself might forget to betray. When the call came to depart on the first survey flight, instruments, drafting scrolls, and sky sails bundled together, she answered without hesitation. Jolt stood beside her on the dock, grin wide despite stitched ribs. Master Rowan waved from the quay, a roll of ancient schematics under one arm, as the larkspur lifted into placid air. They rose above Meridian's luminous ring, above clouds bruised purple by receding night. Far below, static ruins littered continents like broken promises. Ahead, the variable heavens beckoned. Somewhere out there, gravity waited to flip again, restless as ever. Nara felt neither dread nor disdain. Instead, she offered the sky a challenge. Turn if you must, but we will turn with you, spinning stories across the divide until down and up are mere choices in an unbroken dance.